Always remember, the truth is the truth, whether you believe it or not. The lie needs your permission and participation to even exist. And the only one place that a lie can exist is in the minds of those who are foolish enough to believe it. You're in the 7 Club.
Hit the firm shop and get like something for each crazy night of your Jewish buddies and your Jewish family. Like, we got some amazing gear in there. And then for us Christian folks, we only get that one day, but hey, let's make it a big Firmamental gift. And yeah, it should be fun. Why wouldn't you want to rock the firm gear? I think we got the best conspiracy gear on the flat plane.
Yeah. And load up too, because we're using T-Post, and I've been noticing if you sign up with them, and it's free, they don't ask for much. It's just a basic like thing to get into the app, but they're sending a lot of promotional codes with like great discounts. I've seen like up to 35% off some of the stuff, and they already got good prices and they got good stuff. So go check out the shop. Also, just want to let you guys know, support the show, man. We got a active newsletter. You can subscribe and support the show financially. We're not asking for much. You can choose which amount you want to subscribe, but I think the base minimum is $5 a month. So if you guys believe in the stuff that we're putting out, go check out that. We'll put the links in all the new episodes so you guys can get linked up with the newsletter and choose to help us out, because we do need to see some return on our investment. Also, anybody out there that has a product that you think we believe in, reach out to us, man. We're looking for sponsors of the show, and I'm going to be reaching out to a lot and get this thing going, because we're taking it to another level in 2025. But yeah, man, we have an amazing returning guest. I think he's live on his channel. I'm not going to spoil it yet. I'm going to let Alex introduce him, but you guys love this individual, and he's a personal, really good friend of mine. And I'm going to pass it back to Alex and let him introduce tonight's returning guest for, I believe, the third time now. Here we go.
It is because of this guy that when I play card games and I get the 7 of clubs in my hand, I know he's with me and he's talking to me. And without further any ado, 7 Club Cody's in the house. And you know what? One of my favorite guests, and so happy whenever he returns. So thanks for joining us, Cody.
I am happy to be here on my favorite podcast, Firmamental. You guys that are watching, we're right here, Firmamental. Check them out. Check out the shop. If you guys want your comments to pop on the screen, jump over to the YouTube channel. It'll be streamed there as well. And yeah, Firmamental on Spotify. Thanks for having me, guys. Man, you guys are awesome. And I love when the 7 of Clubs pops up in my deck too, because that was the whole reason of my whole salvation story. The 7 of Clubs popped up in that, and that's my little reminder that he's watching out for me up there.
That's pretty cool. That's your totem.
Yeah, man.
So the 7, do you see that number often?
Oh my gosh, always.
Mm-hmm.
Always. I didn't before, but after that situation, like, it's everywhere now. Everywhere.
Alex, I'm curious, do you have a number that pops up continually with you? Because I have one. Follows me everywhere. The number 5.
Yeah, you're a 5 guy. Man, I don't know if my wife is always texting me, 1111, 1111. She's always texting me that. I don't know. For me, I always notice my birthday. My birthday is August 31st, so I always notice 8 and 31. But that's mostly because of my own ego. So
We all have.
I wish you would have said 33, dude. You ruined it.
Hey,
I'm holding my dice. I was gonna throw up a 33 like on purpose. Be like, oh,
so
he's throwing gang signs.
yeah. Raul, before I forget, you said 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you know 5's the number of grace?
No, I didn't.
Jesus had how many wounds when he was crucified? 1, 2, 3, 4, the feet, and then 5, the wound in the side, right?
Okay.
So the 5, 6.
You don't think the 2 feet were stacked with one?
Yeah, but when he got pulled apart.
But yeah, okay, true. That's true. Okay, duh.
Yeah, I think that's where it originally came from. I could be wrong on where 5 got attached to grace, but in Hebrew numerology, 5 means grace. That pops up for my sister all the time. She's a searcher of the 5s.
Okay, because in the occult realm, I heard that it means the opposite, or not the opposite, but I heard that it's like a death number.
The 5. Yeah, I've heard that for 7, for 6, for all kinds of stuff. Like there's always, and that brings me to this point here. Everybody's looking for the evil nowadays. You notice that?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got their mind set on looking for what the enemy's doing, looking for where Satan's perverted something, or looking for that. And that becomes such an obsession that now they live in a world that's just everything's evil. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I was driving through my neighborhood and I was going 33 kilometers an hour, and I was like, "Oh, I better speed up." And then I got a ticket, but
oh no,
it's okay. It was worth it. It was worth it that I didn't get busted for 33. I even paid him a couple extra bucks to make it like 37.
Right?
Are you telling the truth? Wow, you didn't tell me about that. Yeah,
what just
man.
happened?
Ooh, that's a good one. I always see people driving around with license plates that have 666 on them. I'm like, who are these people that allow the DMV to give them this license plate? If the DMV gave me a license plate and it had 3 6s on it, I'm being like, dude, I'm sorry, dude, but you got to give me another one. I'm not taking that one.
I specifically asked for Raul 69. What the hell is this?
Do they not like? I don't know. I don't get it.
Or you're checking out at McDonald's and you get a satanic cheeseburger when it's 666.
I haven't ate at McDonald's in a long time, so I wouldn't know. But I guess I've heard of people getting like 666 on a receipt, so they buy something extra just so like that's how obsessed they are with it. I don't know if I'm that obsessed, but I definitely wouldn't drive around with a license plate with it on. What do you say, Cody?
I don't think I would either. I think I would have caught that and been like, I'm good on that, because yeah, I would be at a predisposition. I'd walk up to my car and I'd see it and I couldn't help but be like, oh, I don't.
Okay, I got a question for you guys. Is 666 worse than 66? Because you see 66 and that's a red flag too, right? But I think 3 6s is worse. I think 66 is a coincidence.
Yeah. Usually it's got to be 3 in a row. It's got to be three in a row.
So 66 doesn't freak you out too bad.
No.
Okay.
Well, on my favorite show that I just got into, and that's what I was wondering, is Yellowstone, and one of the ranches that they works for is the 4-6 ranch. It's 4 6s in a row. And I'm like, lucky. So if it has 4 6s, does it not make it satanic? Because dude, I love that show, man.
Yeah, it's like 666 and a third.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, instead of 33 and a third.
Let me tell you this story real quick. This goes along with what we're talking about. Someone in the chat too just said, you're giving something your power. Truth Repeater said that. And you're right. So there's this weird journey that just happened, and God was chasing me down on this. So there's this video that someone in my church sent me, and it was a story of this guy. He was telling this story, and he said, the Lord told me to take him to go see Avengers Infinity War, the movie. So he said, of course I went. He said, I get there and I start watching the movie, and this guy walks in and sits next to me. And, he's like, oh, I love this part. He's like, the guy was kind of annoying and stuff. And he even, I guess he thought we were so much friends that he reached into my popcorn, took some and started eating it and everything. And he's like, what, rude? And so he's like, I stuck the popcorn on the other leg. And he's like, I'm kind of like, that's crossing the line, buddy. But anyway, he said after the show, he stood up and said, I wish Christians were more like these superheroes, because, they would realize the power that they have within them, and he said, you know what, you're right. My name's Micah. And he shook his hand. He said, I'm Jesus. And then boom, disappeared. Right. So initially, when I watched that video, my friend sent that to me. She thought it was really cool. She loved it. Now, my first thought, now being deep diving into the conspiracy world and things like that, my first thought was, am I going to ruin this for her and tell her what I truly think about this video? Because I've done the deep dives into the superheroes, and they're based directly off of false gods and the Nephilim and fallen angels and all this stuff. Or do I not? Because I like this story myself, and should I ruin it for her? And I'm thinking Cody ruins everything, So I waited for my wife to come home before I rained on her parade. My wife comes home, and I said, what do you think of this video? So I just watched it unprompted, just watch this. And so I'm looking over her, gauging her responses. She's smiling super big, man. And she's enjoying this video and this whole story. And I said, so what do you think? And she said, oh, I love it. I said, so you think that Jesus would invite somebody to go watch a movie that glorifies the fallen angels? And she goes, well, isn't that just like God? The weapon that was formed against us shall not prosper. In fact, it will be used and turned around on them. So Jesus may have known that they made that movie with those intentions, but the person watching it didn't know that. And Jesus actually took it and used it for a message and used it for good. And when she said that, it was like, oh, what? So then, so that next day, I did a sermon at church, and I decided to show that video and explain the whole thing to people. And what's weird is my best friend / boss, this really cool dude that just bought me a pair of boots. It's a guy I work for. We talk about all kinds of stuff. Anyway, he comes to me afterwards and he goes, dude, I'm so glad you showed that video. He goes, you know what? He goes, I almost sent that to you. He's like, because I liked that video. He's like, but I got sketched out because I knew that as soon as I sent it to you, you would have been like, yeah, but the fallen angels, but this is made after that. And he goes, and I didn't want to, for that reaction alone. He's like, but I'm glad that you went ahead and showed it and you said all that. Well, that morning, actually, somebody had just said, hey, have you ever seen this guy? And they named the guy who originally posted that video, right? So there's this grand big circle of everyone involved. The person who sent me the video, my wife, my boss, the people of the church, the guy in the morning who originally sent me that video, all this big encircled workings of all this stuff to teach this one little lesson. So then after all was said and done, I called my boss. Actually, he called me, but we were talking on the phone. And I came to this conclusion. I said, the enemy is trying to pervert everything. The enemy is trying to put his hands in every little thing, because guess what? We're in World War III, which is really the war of our attention. This is a war for our attention. The spiritual warfare is for our attention. And God is screaming for each and every one of us. He's chasing every single lost lamb down this path. And a lot of us truth seekers, man, we find ourselves black pilling and doomsdaying, and we're looking down these dark roads, finding the devil in everything, finding Satan in this, finding him in that. And then next thing you know, we become lost and we're almost idolizing the one thing that we were trying to expose in the beginning. And now our eyes cannot even see the God that's within us and each other, because we're calling each other out on this and that. And we're saying, you're this. And boom, next thing you know, we're lonely, we're sad, and we're depressed, and we're in the darkness, the thing that we tried to expose and avoid in the first place.
Wow. Dude, I love that breakdown, and I see it. And that's why we made a conscious decision between the three of us here at Firmamental, Claude, Alex, and myself, that we wanted to stop with some of that stuff, because there comes a point where it's getting you nowhere and you're just running around in circles. But I see that. I love that analogy of, chasing all these rabbits down these different rabbit holes. And then you find yourself, and this is what I think too, you find yourself focusing on the enemy who's difficult to identify, right? Because they come in many different forms. They masquerade as spirits of light. They do trickery, but you can get lost down all these rabbit holes, and you're chasing these rabbits. You don't realize that they're pulling you way off the trail, that the path that you should be on, right? And then you turn around and you're like, man, I've isolated myself chasing all these false rabbits. And I'm sure they're sending spirits of confusion, causing dissent in our community. And that's one thing that we don't want to do here at Firmamental. I don't think it's productive for content creators, truthers, podcasters, TikTokers, whoever it may be, whatever your platform is, for us to start accusing us of of certain things, or saying this and saying that. Like, we all have our own positions, we all have our own platforms, we all have our own unique talents that we bring to the table. But arguing about some of this stuff that is never ending, and trying to cause dissent within the community, man, we're doing the enemy's work for them. So we made it a choice, man. We don't want to black pill people anymore, man. We want to talk about how we win. And I don't think it's focusing on the enemy all the time, because the enemy, like, come on, man, does anybody know who the real Antichrist is? We're still trying to figure that out all the time, right? Instead of focusing on the Antichrist, why don't you focus on Jesus, bro? Because we know who he is.
Yeah. And I was going to say, two of the most important things that I want to be asking more people going forward is, what do you believe and why do you believe it? That was one of the things that we were talking about, because if I don't understand what you believe or why you believe it, who the hell am I to try and change your mind into my beliefs? Like, what the hell are my beliefs anyway? Like, I'm not smarter than anybody else, and I'm probably wrong about 80-90% of things. And most people won't say that. I'll say it right now. Like, in 20 years from now, I'll look back and, oh my God, who was Alex at 46 years old? Man, what was he thinking about? Like, that's crazy. Just like I can look at a 20-year-old version of me and be like, wow, that guy, his beliefs were crazy. But you know what? You were in your beliefs for a reason at that time. And we're all on these journeys. So who the heck are we to, go around and pull Santa's pants down and run out the door and laugh that, we screwed you up. We threw you down a different rabbit hole. And I'm really going to check myself in this next year and just try and be respectful and figure out what people believe and why they believe it. I think that that's super important.
Yeah. There's a lot of new things arising to divide us in so many different ways. You say, focus on Jesus is the main thing, but like, the enemy is even trying to attack that in some ways, because we've got believers arguing over the name, like, it's Jesus, it's Yeshua, it's Yahuwah, and so many are arguing over that. It's like, hey, we have a relationship with our Father, and like, you call him what you've learned to call him and have that relationship, man, and it's the same. I pray to Jesus, I get answered from Jesus. You pray to Yahuwah, and we're talking about the same God, the same loving God that loves us. And I'll tell you this, though, the first time I tried to call my dad by his first name, he almost slapped me. He said, that is a sign of disrespect. You call me dad. You call me dad. You call me father. You call me daddy. That's my name to you because you're my son. He said, you don't call me by my first name. That's something that's a demand of respect from my peers. You're not my peer. You're my child. And I was like, whoa, and that's what a father wants to be called. A father wants to be called father, or the, dad, or, I'm sure he's not even twisted up about the proper word or name. And that's just who he is. God is a loving God who's not a stuck-up God with his arms crossed saying, I'm not even going to respond to you till you call me my actual name. And you got to do 25 hours of research before you can find it. But it's just, it's weird.
It's human nature. It's human nature, though, to be fickle and to pick things apart and create problems where there aren't any. That's But this is a great example of the dumbest thing to bicker about is what you call Jesus or God. And honestly, like, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard about what you can bicker about.
It's a big one right now.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, because I've done both. I pray to him as Jesus. I pray to him as Yeshua. And sometimes I say both, in the same prayer. I'll say it one way and I'll say it another. But I've told people this, like, I've had people do that to me online, and they say, oh, well, Jesus is, the Caesar Borgia, which actually means like, hail Zeus and all this. And I'm like, dude, like, God knows my heart. God knows my intentions. When I speak his name, he knows who I'm calling on. He knows I'm not calling hail Zeus. Right. Like, that's ridiculous, bro.
Yep. And I think a scholar actually broke that one down. And I know a lot of people that say that, and I thought, well, maybe they did that. And I looked into it. There was a guy that did the breakdown of it, and people are spreading that around, but turns out it's not even true. But that's going around. I heard it too. People said that. I've said Jesus before, and people accuse me of the same thing, Raul. And then I was like, no, I got to look into this, because that don't feel right to me, I looked into it, and turns out it doesn't even mean Hail Zeus. And, you know, they're, you've been accused of it. I've been accused of it. A lot of my friends have been accused of it. And even if it did, though, like, we have a relationship with that Messiah, the one that came and it died for us. You know, that's who we're referring to. He knows we're talking to him that as well.
I agree. And I'm gonna pivot at this point too, because like you said, there's a lot going on in our world right now, and we got a limited amount of time, a good amount of time, but a limited amount of time with you tonight. So I wanted to get in some of this good stuff that's going on. I don't know where you want to start, man. We got this UAP, UFO, drone phenomenon going on. I mean, but since the last time we talked to you, we got all the surroundings with Hurricane Helene. We got weird geopolitical stuff going on all over the place. We got, all these people saying this prophecy is being fulfilled now. We got, I'm missing a bunch of, we got the Daniel Penny stuff. I mean, we got so much stuff going on, dude. Where do you want to start, man?
Well, let's start with the weather thing, man. Here recently, we've spread enough awareness now that I think people have figured out that since the 40s at least. I mean, we got General Electric. We've got documentation of General Electric doing some tests with these hurricanes. We now know they have the cloud seeding technology with something as simple as just dropping some dry ice into it. They can direct hurricanes. They can intensify them. They can decrease the intensity. They can do all these things. So the question is, how come they hit land? If these things start so far out in the ocean and they're kind of have their trajectory towards a certain place, and the technology exists to, subdue or change the trajectory, how come they're hitting land? So, the awareness of people talking about it, sharing the information, when we begin to, we have people like, Joe Biden, or what was it? He mocked that senator for actually exposing this idea and saying, hey, this is a technology that's available. They can do this, and making it aware. And then they mocked, the truthers that were kind of uncovering that stuff. So, at least the awareness is spreading. But that's my main thing, is the question of, why are they hitting land? Why is it getting to that point?
Have you looked at the patents? Have you done a little bit of digging in there? Because I remember, I think it was after we talked to you that I actually wanted to do an episode, and we didn't get to it yet. But just to list off the patents and actually go through them. This is not conspiracy stuff. Like this isn't fantasy novel stuff. This is technology that is patented and is for everyone to see. And it's done that way on purpose, just like 9/11, just like all these crazy conspiracies that are common sense to us after looking at it. All people have to do is look, but they're presenting it. And if you don't look at it, you look away or pretend it's not there. Yeah, maybe in your existence, it's not real, but it really is happening in the background. These things do exist. And I think more people should awaken to this, because it's scary, it's wrong, and we probably should do something about it. When I told my wife about weather modification, that hit her harder than any other conspiracy, because she loves nature and the weather, and the fact that men are not men, but mankind is messing with this. There's something very biblical. That's going against God. We are trying to be gods at this point. Messing with these things. Yeah, maybe we can get some rain here, grow some crops, but come on, dudes. They were telling us about acid rain in the 80s and then scaring us off of that, and then next thing you know, the poles are melting and we're all going to drown. Oh God, we got the receipts. It's just now it's time to organize them like an accountant.
And that's the main thing. We have the receipts. They're there. It's all there. We have enough to take this, take this voice of the people, enough people to actually do something, to where we have, a sectioned off military branch or whatever of people who are designated to the control of weather in the right way. Let nature take its course. But if there is a hurricane heading towards land that's going to affect lives, let's use some of that technology for the good. Let's subside this thing. Let's steer this thing. Let's take it off somewhere where there's no people. You know, maybe a whale will get sucked up, but hey, that's a casualty I'm willing to ride with.
Do you think that hurricanes are made by man, or do you think they are made by nature? Like how long back do you think this goes where they've been doing these things?
That's a thought. I don't know, but that's a thought because they are so intense, aren't they? And
Yeah.
the effects after the main hurricane, we're talking the inland stuff that happens. Like it's not just the hurricane. The hurricane will come in, then you got your floods, then you got your after storms, then you got your all your devastation of power outages, people starving, being stuck places. Yeah, so these things are catastrophic, dam failures, everything on the list. So it's like, it seems like it would be, and we've always been told it's an act of nature. You know, we've always been told that. But hey, I mean, they start way off in the ocean and come out of nowhere. I mean, who's to say they don't have a DEW that warms the ocean water just right, and then some dry ice comes in, hits the cool just right, and then bam, there it is. I mean, the only way to figure it out is to like monitor it. I don't know, you know?
Yeah. And they have all the technology to do that. No, I think that definitely any storm is a naturally occurring phenomenon. But I think that, like Alex said, we have people who are nefarious in power, and they are trying to play God. And mankind has always got in trouble when they try to play God. When you manipulate the natural cycle of how God created things, same thing like the whole transgender movement. Like humanity will cease to exist if we all mutilated ourselves and changed our sex, like things doesn't work. And it's funny, the same people that try to tell us what medicines to take support these extreme, movements. And if you don't do it, you're a judgmental, and you're this and you're that, and you're a sexist and you're a racist, and you're labeled with all these labels. And people got tired of the gaslighting. People are tired of the gaslighting. But like going back to the weather modification thing, yeah, it's never good to play God. No good comes out of it. And the people that could use this for good, like let's say they can steer a storm, like you said, why don't they steer it from, hitting a heavily populated area, or if they could drive it off somewhere else, like use it for good. But it seems like they're steering these things. And then we see something like Hurricane Helene happen, where it isolates itself in a mountain region where hurricanes storms shouldn't hit that way. And it stabilizes in one geographic location for the amount of time that it did. And I forgot what Billy Bond said on the Permaculture Pimpcast. Shout out to him, but he's been doing amazing work. If you guys want to know what's going on, they did a complete breakdown of all the toxins in the soil over there. They're like breaking it all down, and they're actually boots on the ground, figuring out ways using permaculture and God's natural way to clean up some of this unnatural stuff that's happening there in their region. So shout out to those guys doing big work. But it's crazy. And then we start asking these questions. It doesn't make sense. Like, how does a storm isolate itself in this mountainous region? And then, we know in the community that we're in, we've been knowing about chemtrails. We've been knowing about the weird phenomenon of this. And we're told, oh, no, this has been happening forever. Bro, my eyes don't lie to me. I don't remember ever being a kid. I'm out here in Phoenix, Arizona. It was always firmament blue, beautiful blue skies. And now every day I go out, it's this sheet of gray. This is not natural weather to the state of Arizona. We don't get days on end of days on end of days on end of sheets of gray plathering the sky. And what's crazy to me is the natural occurring weather, we should be getting cooler, but on the days when they have these sheets in the sky, it actually seems like it's heating us up and trapping the heat in. And it seems like it's changing the weather somehow. And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, okay, there's a difference between contrails and chemtrails. And shout out to Milton Ocampo. I'm gonna pass it back to you guys. But one of our friends, and Alex said it on a previous episode, that it's the same thing with the level plane geocentrism, aka flat earth stuff. Like, we don't necessarily have to know everything about it to get people to start to look into it. Like, we don't have all the answers, right? But if we can point out the lies, then it can lead to people like, hey, they're lying to us. And then they get inquisitive on it and be like, well, why are they lying to us? And then we slowly start to unravel this mess, right? And I've heard that they're even doing, like, Disney and some of these movie companies and Disney are going back into older films. Have you heard about this? And they're adding chemtrail-like clouds in the sequences of these movies and cartoons that it didn't exist in. So now when people go back and watch these movies, they're like, hey, but it was happening back then. It was in this movie. And it was, no, they're not. It's like Mandela affecting us. Yeah.
Man, I wouldn't put it.
I'm sorry. That was a lot there. I went on one of my rants. Back to you guys.
You go for it, Cody.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, man. You know, they've changed some things. It's a weird world we live in. But you know, the apocalypse is now. But you know, the apocalypse is the great awakening of the people. We are confidently waking up now. And you know, when you really think about it, and Alex has mentioned this before too, and you know, it's like, look at the great lengths that they go through though. Like, okay, so if we weren't powerful, you know, if we weren't God's children with his power, you know, at our fingertips, in our hearts, in our being, in our community, then they wouldn't have to go through all of these great lengths of trying to put their tag on everything. It's like God's winning and God's the least popular. Like the media doesn't own, you know, every movie pumping God into it and pushing it down our throats like this anti-God agenda that's in every movie. It's on every social media. They're censoring, you know, all the truth and trying to throw the lies. It's like they're going to great lengths, overdoing it to the point where it's like, that's a sign of weakness. You know, in a debate, when someone uses logical fallacy and straw manning, and they use, you know, misrepresentation, then that means that their argument is weaker and they have to do it in order to have some kind of position in the fight. So Satan, God of the air, whatever, you know, he's got this little idea that, well, he must be losing pretty bad if he's got to go to the great lengths to try and, you know, change things and suppress and to put his agenda in every movie and all that stuff. It's like, wow, really, bro, you're losing that bad that you have to do all that? It should encourage you, man. It should encourage all these people out here that are seeing it all. Like, that's how much they're losing, you know?
I think it speaks volumes to the great awakening that is actually happening. And the COVID, overplaying COVID so hard, woke me up. That's the only reason I'm podcasting here, just because I didn't want to sit back and do nothing. It's crazy to think that these guys, Weinstein, Jay-Z, P. Diddy, LeBron James, all these guys are going down all of a sudden. And I was listening to the Cat Williams interview with Shannon Sharp. I never listened to it before until today. And I'm telling you, that thing aged like fine wine. And Cat Williams was saying, you know, it's God versus the devil, period. And he's right. It really is that. And all the guys that took the sweet ass shortcuts to get that nectar as quickly as they could and sold out to do it. Man, I'm telling you, time goes fast, and the sands in the hourglass are going very quickly now. And I get goosebumps when I say this, but yeah, I feel like things have been difficult for a very long time for us, but victory is at hand. And I don't think that the world is going to end. I really don't. I don't believe that kind of stuff anymore. I believe that we win, but we have to keep our foot on the gas and do good, not sit back. Like I really feel like these things like LeBron James and P. Diddy and all these guys, oh yeah, we're finally getting justice. We win. Conspiracy theorists, oh yeah, we'll sit back, and Trump's in office. Okay, things are no. It's 48 to 49. It's pretty soon. It's going to be 70 to 49. And the game's almost over, and we are going to put our feet on their throat, and we're going to finish it, you know, like the Patriots used to. It's going to be 80-0 at the end of the game, and we're going to crush you and not stop. And I'm telling you, if we even hold back a little bit and not take this momentum with us, it's all for nothing.
Yeah, you said it, dude. So that word, you know, the apocalypse, and everyone paints it up as that's the end of the world, but it's not the end of it's the beginning of our world. It's the end of theirs. You know, the apocalypse means That's when everything is revealed. All truth is seen. The apocalypse. It's the apocrypha, the things that were hidden away. Now ellipses. It comes back around. The things that were once hidden is now revealed. It's the end of their world. And that's why they paint it as the end of the world and try to make people think like, oh no, but no, it's like, it's when they're found out and all the people that no longer the power that they have over, like, it doesn't work anymore. They're like, no, like we serve a mighty God who wins. I mean, that's the story. It's already written, boom. And I'm right there with you, man. And I feel it deep in me that like, there is no way out for these evils of the world. They're slowly just losing it.
That's why it drives me crazy when there's any kind of bickering or any kind of division. It's like, you guys, like, let's line up together. Nobody moves before they hut the ball. Like, nobody's blaming each other. We're all on the same team. We're the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't matter that you're number 69, Raul, and I'm, 31 over here, and Cody is 7. Like, we're all got the same jersey on, and we might play different positions, but it's all good. We're all on the same team. Let's get there.
Amen.
Yeah, I think too that with all this stuff, like, oh, we're going to see prophecy come to pass, and we're seeing this happen and that happen. And how many times have we heard this throughout even just our lifetime? Like, I wasn't that big of a conspiracy theorist back then, but you guys remember Y2K glitch? I mean, I don't know how old you are, Cody. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that.
He's 54.
No, the Mayan calendar thing, like it's the end of the age and it's the end of the world. And there's always things that we can point to. And now they're saying, the storming of Damascus, is this prophecy being fulfilled? But then people who really know God's word be like, that prophecy has already been fulfilled in previous scriptures. But is it possible that a prophecy can be fulfilled twice? Like, it can just keep going and going. Like you guys said, I don't think we focus on the end game. We just focus day to day, giving thanks and praise and living in today in this moment, thinking, what are we doing to make our world better? And I think that's the strategy of the enemy, is he wants you to have you so confused and down that you're focusing on the wrong things. And I think it's a collective of consciousness, right? And they win the most is when they get believers to fall for this stuff. And I had somebody even say to me, like, imagine like these nefarious spirits, I don't think that when you're bought and paid for and your soul is saved by Jesus Christ, that these things can touch you, but they will definitely try to mess with you. And if you stop to entertain them and you give them your attention, then they can distract you from your potential mission and goal. So I think that's what they're doing. And I think that a lot of these doomsdayers and these people saying like Alex is saying, like, hey, we're the watchmen called, like, this ain't happening on my post. This ain't happening while I'm watching. This ain't happening on my shift. We have all the tools. And like you said, I don't think it's necessarily the end of everything. I think it's the end of their nonsense and the beginning of a world free from their tyranny, and just thinking that all this stuff is going to happen and it's all dark and it's all evil and we're constantly focusing on this. If we're all giving our collective consciousness and our attention to everything being bad, then it affects ourselves, which are our temples, and then we start to get sick and feel bad, and then it pushes everything down. And that's the demonic oppression. Like, we need to not allow these things to have that kind of level of influence over us.
100%. I agree.
Yeah. So another thing too that we got going on, and I've been looking at a little bit. I watched the video that you sent me today, but what's up with this final experiment stuff?
Yeah, man. Okay, so they go to Antarctica, and
Supposedly
they went and saw the 24-hour sun. Now, here's what we know. Okay, we know for a fact that we've made observations, we've done measurements. The Earth is undoubtedly, I mean, we're talking some observations and measurements up to 1,000 miles. Some popular ones, 700 miles, mountains off in the distance, the horizon perfectly flat the whole way, mountains with the sun setting behind those mountains, showing them perfectly eye level on the horizon, 700 miles away. We're talking some of these observations should be below up to 60 miles of curvature. That's 60 miles. That's like from me to the city of St. Louis. So it's like, that's a lot of curvature that should be there and it's not. So missing curvature, That's number one. Okay. So a lot of people speculate that this final experiment, there has been a lot of very peculiar things happening around it. Okay. The guy heading it up, he has been caught doing some, saying some things that weren't aligning up with things he'd said before, maybe some inaccurate things, little stuff like that. So people were thinking, maybe he's, being deceptive. And of course, we know a lot of the anti-flat earthers that are on here every day, we know they get caught in a lot of deceptive stuff. We know the heliocentric model doesn't actually work. It violates so many laws. I mean, the law of thermodynamics, the second law of thermodynamics, entropy, it violates that. It violates physics itself. So the three-body problem, not to mention the however many bodies are in the solar system, they had to add stuff like dark matter that is not proven. It's completely theoretical, just so the physics of the gravity model will work in the solar system. So we know it's a completely impossible model. Now, when I saw the 24-hour sun, saw that, I mean, I had a couple thoughts. It's like, okay, they're either faking it right now, or there is like an apparent phenomenon there. So I looked into it a little bit, and Raul, I sent you this video, but this guy created this little model. It's an actual little flat earth model with a dome. He put a little sun in there, and he had, he called it the superfluid dome model. So it's like a dome with fluid above, with superfluid above, waters above. Just basically, he built a small, actual physical scale model of the biblical earth and put a sun in it and had it going around. Now, there's an optical phenomenon that happens both. He did stars and the sun. And with that model, the actual model, not a CGI, not like a computer-based model like they do for the solar system that we know here today. No, he built a physical little model, put that sun in there, did it. And guess what? There's an apparent sun that circles around you in Antarctica, no matter where you're at. It does the exact same thing. And the cool thing about the actual model that he built is that sun, when it goes around, it squashes. So it'll be like round, and then as it goes around, it'll squash and unsquash, squash and unsquash. Now go squatch. It'll Sasquatch. No.
Yeah.
But now go watch the time lapses that Dave McKeegan put out, that whoever else put out. In that time lapse, you will watch that sun do exactly what it does in that little model that was made. It'll go around and the sun will squash a little bit. Now, when do you ever see the sun squash? We don't see that here, but the apparent sun that's happening in that region of Antarctica. Now, think of this. There's a region. Okay. Now, in our winter, which is now, it's Antarctica's summer, and the sun just sits and goes around those ice lands. And it's negative 25 to 40 degrees at all times. It's as cold as can be there. The ice is not melting, yet the sun is sitting there for however long, and yet it's freezing cold. Now, when does that ever happen? Usually when the sun's right there, it's warm. And, with the sun being that long, like, why would that be in Iceland where the sun is almost there how long do they say it's there? Is it really 6 months of a circle? It's been circling in the sky since they've been there. So, who knows?
So this is what I wanted to say, because in the flat Earth model, right, in the north, which on the map behind Alex, the Gleason map, the sun, when it's our summers, has a shorter rotation closer to us. So we get longer days because we're seeing the sun move around us sooner. Then as the sun moves out, which right now it's in the south, and according to the globe model, the South's summers are when the North's winters happen, and vice versa, which still makes sense on a flat Earth model because you have the sun closer in for the North, moving in a shorter circle, making the summer season for the North, and then as it spreads wider in the flat Earth model, it's the summer for the northern region because the sun's local over the southern part of the. Now, making sense of this phenomena, at least what I saw from the guy's scale, using that glass dome with the light inside of it, the superfluid, the projections of the luminaries, the stars, right? And then how the light would reflect through that superfluid. And if the firmament is made up of superfluid, and he also explained that magnetic plate that he put inside of it, holding that superfluid as being the crystalline floor of God's throne, which we know as God's footstool, made up of a crystal-like substance. And you got these phenomenons with the light. As he moved the light, and he did it for, I don't know if I'm right, is it the Tropic of Capricorn or the Tropic of Cancer on the flat Earth model that has the wire, which would give the South their summer, and we're in the winter in the North, making our days shorter and their days longer.
It's on that map right behind Alex.
Yeah. So anyways, though, but as he moves this light in the circle above that certain tropic, that meridian, that rotation, as he moves it, it creates this light phenomenon in the corner, which if they're located at that part of the southern ice wall, as that sun moves around, it's creating another light phenomenon that is a reflection, creating the image of another sun, and it's just rotating above them and staying visible the whole time as the larger one travels around. And it's actually reflections causing it as the way light bends through this phenomenon. I don't know if you got to watch the video for it to really make sense. It's probably kind of confusing hearing somebody talk about it, but when you actually see it, and like you said, it's an actual model that this guy built, a small scale model of potentially what's happening on a larger scale. It's not CGI.
Right. He shows it. And that blew my mind when I saw it, because I was like, holy, because I watched that little sun squash as it went around, and I was like, and I had seen that happen in the actual footage of the sun that they showed in Antarctica. Right. And I was like, why is it squashing? And I was thinking, oh, it's a artificial sun is my first thought. But then seeing it in that model, I'm like, dude, it's doing the exact movement to the T of what that model does. Now, that's something that we've always been looking for, right? A lot of people say Flat Earth doesn't have a model, doesn't have a this and that. But it's like, we have a model that shows you exactly what you're seeing down there. And it came out so quick. And this dude made this thing. I mean, did he have it? Has he had it for a while? Or did God just put this on his mind and he's like, okay, follow the instructions and put it together? Who could have thought of that? To put that.
It was brilliant. Was it Flat Earth Banjo? I'm going to say real quick before we pass it to Alex, but was it Flat Earth Banjo? Did you see that video, Alex?
He might have covered.
I haven't seen it yet. No.
I think I sent it to a group chat with you and Claude, so I'm sure you'll be able to pull it up. But it's basically like a short breakdown of like what's come out on the final experiment up to this point.
Did they say where they went exactly in the South Pole? Because that's information that I would like to know.
Yeah, Union Glacier camp.
Union Glacier. Okay, so I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of actual background, like stuff that we don't need conspiracy theory or whatever to prove. When I used to live in Gillam, Manitoba, I will fact check myself right away for summer solstice, but I can recall fishing at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and watching the sun go down and then come back up at around 4 a.m. So about 3 hours worth of sunshine, and that was at the 58th parallel. That's how high north I lived. So I don't know exactly where you guys are at. So 58th parallel north. And then I Googled Rio Gallegos, which is it's in Argentina, and it's at the 52nd degree parallel south. So almost the same as me, but south. So I found that this was fascinating, and I will fact check myself right away after this. But their times right now, sunrise to sunset, is 5:13 a.m. and 9:52 p.m. So that is a totally different reality than what I experienced near the North Pole. And this is very close to the South Pole, almost exact. It shouldn't be, what do I got here? 7.5 hours of night. I was experiencing 2 to 3 hours of night. And the further north you go in the Arctic, in the North Pole, you definitely, like people in Alaska have, they make vampire movies called 30 Days of Night for a reason, because there is, in the wintertime right now, Alaska is pretty dark. Even for me, sunrise is almost 9 a.m. and sunset is about 4. So these are actual things. So I'm fascinated by what you guys are talking about too, though, because I honestly think you have to build a real model in order to try and replicate what is going on. Because in my mind, looking at this Gleason map, if the sun is behaving like it does in Argentina, and it's it's at the 180 mark, like let's say it's like over Australia,
Mhm.
I shouldn't be able to see that, on a flat Earth. So it's got to be some kind of reflection, and even that boggles my mind. So I am having a difficult time,
Mhm.
and I'm still trying to figure out, can I trust these guys? Because I do believe the numbers from Argentina. Why would they lie, right? In Argentina, you can't lie. In the North Pole, you can.
Yeah.
And I want to apologize, folks. My Canadian co-host said Gallegos. It's Gallegos. Come on, man. 2 L's in Spanish is a
Oh,
Y.
sorry. That was that's my Canadian accent.
Go ahead, Seven Club.
I'll tell you what, though, this whole thing started, like what you were talking about, Alex. That's a big thing that I think will be the new wave of, they go down there, they observe something. This guy makes this model. So of course, before they even get back, there's things kind of being put in place. But I think the next big thing will be people coming together, from the north, from the south, comparing notes, through a year's time. If people in that line from where you were talking about, where you started in the north to where you ended in the south, these people all get together, start communicating with each other, watching it in real time, documenting it, doing their video, comparing it, what the sun is doing. Like, I think people are going to be tracking the sun now like never before. And, you were just chilling, hanging out,
Mm-hmm.
and you remember something like that. But now we're all going to be documenting this stuff. We're all going to be watching it like crazy. We want to know. And
Mm-hmm.
watching the sun will be a big thing that I think people are doing, and checking for sunspots on it. There was a day I got these little glasses that my solar eclipse glasses that I bought, and I remember I could see sunspots with them. And there was this guy with a solar filter in Philly or somewhere, and he was filming the sun, and I saw those spots, and I was like, I want to go look at those spots. Well, I went outside, threw those things on, and I looked up at the sun with those, and I seen different spots than he did. And I found that to be really weird because he was about 400 miles from me. And I'm like, why am I seeing a different sunspots? So then I told a bunch of people, hey, get yourself some solar eclipse glasses. Let's try to find a great big line across and see if we can all look at the sun at the same time when it's out and see if we see, something different altogether. Like you mentioned something, Alex, earlier that, I've thought about too. Is it a physical place? Are we in some kind of, more simulated, created place that has, it doesn't really have a physical measurement that we can all find. I think it's even biblical. It says you can't measure the earth, you can't.
There's some mysteries that we won't know. Only God knows, right? It's all I do know for a fact is that this was created for us. Mm-hmm. By an intelligent designer, that's one thing I've been arguing about with people. There's certain beliefs out there that God isn't good, that this is just basically to torture us. And I'm like, how demented is that? Like, no, like that is the ultimate black pill. That's, I call that the cyanide pill.
Yeah.
When it's like, oh, good, I get to die. It's like playing Call of Duty on super hard mode, and you're just not having any fun. As soon as you run in, you get hit in the head with a bullet, and you got to start again. And nah, man, we're not living that crap.
No,
I'd rather there be no God than living in a world of a torturous one.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I just quickly wanted to fact check myself, guys. So civil twilights for Gillum, Manitoba. Shout out to Gillum. Anybody listening out there? 11:16 p.m. So I was pretty close with the midnight, but that's twilight. And then 3:24 a.m. is when you can start to see it come back up.
Mm-hmm.
Can you point to us on the map roundabout where that is? Like behind you?
Oh, yeah? You want me to show it to you here?
Mental picture? Yeah.
Gillum, Manitoba on Google Maps. So do you guys know where North Dakota is?
Yeah.
So you go about 1,000 miles north of that.
Okay, so kind of in middle of
bum jab nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, can you guys see my screen? I'll share it with you. I don't know if your followers can see this, Cody. Hopefully they can. We got a little bit of a Canadian. We got Wolverines up there, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Got everything. Okay, so everybody, here's Canada, and I used to live right here. Can you see my cursor?
Yep.
This is Gillum, and over here, this is where we generate all the hydroelectricity. And up here is a place called Churchill, and this is where National Geographic goes to take all their polar bear pictures.
Wow.
Cool.
So that's how close I live to all the polar bears. And
Do
down
they come
here,
down that far south? Just curious.
what's that?
Do the
What's
polar
that?
bears come that far down south?
I believe once they did, yeah, and then they got taken back. So this is where I'm from originally, Winnipeg. So yeah, you basically go about 1,000 miles north, and then you can see on. Well, the bad thing about Google Maps is it's a Mercator projection, so you know it's
Yeah.
garbage, right? So this is where I'm living, and North Dakota's like right down here. So this is the 58th degree parallel right here, and then if we zoom out, like basically I'm here, and here's like the Arctic
Mhm.
up here.
Wow.
So there's still a ways to go.
That's far.
Still a ways to go. But man, like hardly anybody lives up here. It's crazy.
Man, that Hudson Bay looks huge as well.
It is. I've been in Hudson Bay. I was on a big boat and we watched whales come in, beluga whales.
Wow.
They come in there to mate. It's pretty. You guys, I've seen some things. I mean, it's wild. People pay thousands of dollars to come and see stuff like that. And I took a $60 train ride to go check it out.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Man, I need to do more of that. More exploring
Mhm.
and stuff. That is one.
Yeah,
thing
let's go to Japan together. Let's not go up to the Arctic.
Japan would be cool. That'd be fun.
That would be really cool.
I love their architecture there, that's for sure. Fascinating, like beautiful. And they got some really good food, and the Japanese people are just some different people. And I wouldn't say like I'm an anime nerd, but I definitely a fan of some anime, and I think Japan would be a really cool culture to visit.
We'll get you
And-
in this kimono, Raul.
Yeah,
Take
that
you
would
to-
be dope, dude.
Take you to Japan. Just rock it out.
Yeah, dude.
We got some other weird things that we can talk about tonight too, and
Let's
I
do
think
the
I
drones,
mentioned.
man. You
Yes,
mentioned
yes.
So, did you see the map of all? This guy shows this map. He's like, "Here's all the red spots where drones have been called in and reported on." And bro, it's like most of the United States. Like, people are seeing these everywhere. Have you guys seen any for yourself? Anything in the sky weird lately?
So driving back from Best Parents' house last night from Scottsdale to where we live in North Phoenix, I saw 3 or 4 lights. It was 3 lights directly, one on top of another. But she swears up and down that planes fly, and I was like, but you know that there's planes flying because there's a small airport there in Scottsdale, and then there's Sky Harbor downtown Phoenix. And she was claiming, well, I always see incoming or outgoing flights flying in direct paths. So could they have been 3 planes like in the airfield flying into our airport at the same time? But to me, it did not look like that. To me, I was like, why are they? They were like perfectly lined up. Not just kind of lined up. They were perfectly lined up. And then there was one just off to the side, and they seemed to all be traveling at like the same speed. And I was like telling her, I was like, I don't think so. I was like, that's pretty weird. I should have took out my camera, but all I had was my phone. And you know how it is, guys. Like, unless you have a fancy Nikon or something, like trying to take a picture of it on your cell phone, the lights in the sky never look as cool as they do like when you're seeing them with your own eyes. So I don't think it would have came out, but I have seen some weird stuff going on. But I do find it extremely weird though that people aren't just seeing them in like what was it, New Jersey, where they're seeing the majority of them that everybody's pissed off about, that these things are being reported all around the country. And this is just my thoughts on this thing. I think what's weird to me too is the fact that the American government is kind of playing coy and like, oh, we don't really know what these things are. Like, how, if that was true and we don't know what these things are, like how bad does that make us look to our enemies that hate us? Like, are we that susceptible that we're idiots and we don't know what's going on in the airfield of our sky? Because I know if I tried to man a drone and fly it anywhere near our airport or fly it over some Air Force base or some reserved area or go to the Grand Canyon and try to fly a drone through the restricted zone, like, bro, I'm going to go to prison. That thing's going to get shot out of the air. They're going to have F-17s showing up. Like, that just don't happen. They know what the heck these things are. They're leaving it with like all this gray area. And then Trump, of course, comes out and says, well, they know what they are. They're just not saying, like, well, you're supposed to be the president here pretty soon. Why don't you tell us? Screw them, but it's just really weird. But I also think that because a lot of people are reporting what you told me, Cody, is a lot of people are reporting like other phenomenon surrounding this too. So could they be playing psychological operations on us? Because you said in that area of New Jersey, people were getting radio interferences on their radios, and it was speaking like demonic voices, and interference was coming, like sounded like demonic chatter or something. So that's weird. So are they normalizing this like trying to prime us for this alien invasion? Are they trying to, I think what it is they're just trying to fill us with anxiety again, like, right, is this extraterrestrial? Is this potentially Russia or China or some countries that are planning an attack? Is this, and then I've heard so much weird stuff surrounding this, but whatever it is, it's weird. It doesn't sit right with me. But I think to me, I think they're priming this Project Bluebeam stuff, which everybody that listens to our platform and yours is going to be familiar with. And I think they're keeping us filled with anxiety for a potential World War III scenario. But I've heard a lot of weird things too, though, that I don't know who was reporting this, but a lot of these places that these drones are showing up, there's been high levels of nuclear activity being detected in these areas. Have you heard that?
Dang. No, I haven't.
Yeah, that's weird.
That is wild. Yeah, that's the first thing that I think as soon as I see these things in the sky, the congressional hearings, we've had 2 in the last year or 2, with everything that's been building up to this point, I keep thinking of Werner von Braun, when he whistleblowed the last few years of his life, when he's saying, hey, the government is planning to stage an extraterrestrial event to help bring this one world leader, in this one world government, basically. And he passed away. He's kind of the king of whistleblows. He did probably the most gangster whistleblow of all time when he put Psalm 19:1 on his headstone. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. The king of rockets put the heavens declare the glory of God and the firmament showeth his handiwork. I thought that was pretty gangster of him. We're talking about a guy who was a scientist for the bad guys, in the German war and World War II. And then he gets kidnapped by NASA, basically forced to work for them. And then he starts kind of telling their plans, and he gave us some clues, and just so happened those clues have come to pass. He said, well, the news will start covering it, and everything, but how you really know it's coming close is when they militarize space and weaponize space. So we got Space Force now, a whole military branch connected to space. They have some pretty questionable patches. One of their Space Force patches is the Hydra, which is the 6-headed dragon. And we know in Revelation, the 7-headed dragon comes from the sea, right? And Hercules takes that 6-headed dragon down, which is the half man, half god. So that's kind of funny that Space Force uses that patch. Greek mythology is kind of the plagiarism of some of those biblical narratives. And it's just weird how it all connects in that way. And I thought the first congressional hearing was strange because the guy kept saying, are you saying that there's extraterrestrial bodies discovered out of these craft? And he goes, well, let's just say non-human to be safe. That CIA guy, he's like, we'll just say non-human, and I'm thinking, okay, why do you want to use that term? He's giving you the perfect opportunity to say extraterrestrial. Don't you want to say they're aliens? But he said non-human a couple different times. And then we have the second one of the aliens coming out of the ocean. They're saying, oh yeah, they're real, but they're coming out of the ocean, and makes you think, we got gray aliens with that weird gray skin that kind of looks like whale blubber. It's like, are they just from the sea? Are they a civilization beneath the sea that's lived in cities under the water? I mean, they say that they've explored more of space than they have our own ocean, but that doesn't make sense. If space is infinite and they've been to the moon and everything else, then wouldn't you say they explored more space? It's just the whole thing's strange to me, the whole narrative.
Yeah, very, very strange. And I just wanted to say something. You talked about the Space Force, dude. So I'm going to tell a real story. This is something that happened, but I ran into a guy that was wearing the outfit. He was like in it, fully dressed in his uniform, and he was a space. At first, I couldn't tell what branch of the military he was because I was kind of far away from him. It was at like a large eatery, and I kind of saw this guy from a distance, and I was gonna. And I like to say, give props to people in the military and say thanks for their service. So when I couldn't identify what, and I was from the distance I was at, I was trying to identify what branch of the military his uniform was from, and I was like, that's obviously a military uniform, but I couldn't recognize, like, is he Marine, is he Army, is he Air Force, is he what? Then later on with this eatery, I crossed paths with him near the registers where you pay out. And I saw Space Force, bro. He was a Space Force guy in full uniform, in military Space Force uniform. And I asked him, I said, hey, bro, because I didn't want to say, hey, thanks for your service, because I was like, dude, come on, man. I know you guys are like a complete sham. And I asked him, hey, man, I was like, are you really in the Space Force? And he said, yes, sir. And I said, what do you think about the firmament? And he looked at me and he's like, the firmament? He's all, what's that? And I said, that shield that separates the heavens from earth. And he just, I've never heard of that. He did. And I was like, oh, come, yeah, dude. But I had to say something to him. Like, I asked his Space Force what he thought about the firmament. And it was hilarious. You should have seen the look on his face. It was a total reaction that a Mason would give you.
Yeah, that's wild. So Alex said he was reading on the Gleason. You were over there reading on the Gleason map. What'd you see over there, Alex?
Oh, yeah. So on the Gleason map, it says beyond the 80th parallel south, there is no sunlight. And these guys are at Union Glacier at 79 degrees, 46. So like right at the 80th parallel. So that contradicts the Gleason map. And now what do we do? I'm sad. Do I burn my Gleason map?
No. Maybe it's true. I still believe they could totally be somewhere else. I think that they could totally have the sun simulator. They have electrogravitic technology, electrostatic levitation, and they have artificial suns. I mean, we've seen them launched, the China one, of course. Do they have that technology for it to be that bright? I don't know. But, it's hard to tell nowadays.
The Gleason map is definitely not gospel, so I'm not treating it as such.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, if there was land, maybe under the water or above the water, whatever, there could be a lot of extra lands that we don't know. That's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
I still believe that there's certain things that are hidden.
Yeah, me too. I gravitate toward that moon map a lot of the time. I think that thing's pretty neat, man. I mean, there's no proving it right now, but there are a lot of crazy things about it that line up for me, and I want to explore more. But man, I just wish we had the resources sometimes to do a little bit further exploration than what we can actually do right now.
The funny thing is whatever you look for, it will appear.
Mm-hmm.
Like you will be found. Like you will find what you're looking for. It doesn't matter if you're looking for the globe, you'll find it. It's right over there.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for flat Earth, it's right over there. If you're looking for the Neo and the Matrix, you'll find that over there too. So I really think we all have to be very careful and humble about what the hell is actually going on here, and I'm just grateful for you guys. I'm pretty sure you're real. Pretty sure. But I'm happy to have an experience with you and know you guys. Sorry, Raul, I cut you off.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just going to say, like Cody was talking about, wishing that we had the resources. If we could have even 1% of NASA's budget, we could do a lot. Just give us 1% of their budget, dude. We'll do a lot with that. And
I'm retiring. You'd never see me again.
Yeah, right. I'm just going to my doomsday ranch, hiding out and having fun for the rest of my life. See me behind a highball glass of some Maker's Mark trying to ride four-wheelers drunk. No, I'm just kidding.
We could be rappers again, Raul. I mean, we could be rappers.
Right. No, I was going to say, though, the whole artificial sun thing, if they can make an artificial sun and pull that off somehow, to me, that proves that the sun has to be local. It's a local sun, because there's no way they could mimic it if it was this physical object that was actually however many miles they say it is away from us, there's no way. So to me, if they can mimic it, it's something that they're launching or putting somewhere within our atmosphere of this simulated dome that we live in, whatever it is, the firmament. I still believe in the biblical model. But to me, if they can pull off some kind of artificial sun, that would mean that they're using it based off the knowledge that they have of the real sun being localized.
You know what's crazy to me, guys, is for me where I live, I don't think the sun is ever north of me. The sun is always rising in the east, and then throughout the day it's always in the south, and then it sets in the west. But for you guys, like down south, you'll have a sun in the north. You'll look to the north and you'll see the sun. That's so wild to me. I just thought about that. Man, 45 years old. Isn't that weird though? Like, I know it's the hottest part of the day when the sun is right in the south. And for you guys, it would be probably right up above, like right above you, like right on top, cooking you, especially like in Phoenix.
Yeah.
TikTok,
that's wild.
TikTok kicked
Cookie.
us.
What's
Oh,
that?
really?
TikTok kicked us.
Oh, really? Did I say something wrong?
No.
I wonder if it was the drone talk or the local sun talk, the flat earth stuff, the alien stuff. Wow.
Everything we've talked about tonight is potential TikTok flags. They try to get you for pretty much everything. I
thought I was being pretty nice. I thought I was being inclusive of everyone.
And we weren't even claiming that we know it all. We're just asking questions, guys.
Yeah.
Were we getting some love on there?
They didn't like ban us, but they kicked us
They
off.
booted the feed.
I'm back though. But
We must have said something right.
yeah, we had a lot of views on there. We had 400 something.
I thought you were going to say 666.
It was getting there.
You know what's funny, guys, is for the longest time, I purposely kept my Facebook friend count at 69. just because it was funny.
Oh my gosh, did you just scratch your head with this?
No.
There's going to be people in the truth. Oh,
No, but
okay.
it is a monster claw though.
Yeah, it is.
It's like a dragon claw.
Nice.
Uh-oh. Holding a coin?
It's
a
a
magnet.
magnet. It's
Oh,
actually a cart. It's a back scratcher / cart
grabber.
Like,
Yeah.
if you drop a nut or something,
That's
You're
dope.
working on
Yes.
your car, you can grab it. I got this at the auto place, but it's like when I have a scratch on my back, man, it's intense. So like I gotta really, and this thing's made of metal. It's sharp,
Nice.
and I gotta dig in there, man. Like the traditional wooden back scratchers, they just don't cut it for me. So I've got to really like dig in there.
Taint scratcher.
Dude, that is
Oh, yeah.
awesome, bro. I want one of those, man. Send me one for Christmas.
Yeah, get you on there.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I just recently, when I was traveling from New Mexico to Arizona, and I replaced my air filter, and it's super. I hate newer cars. My car's not new, but newer cars, because remember working on old cars, there was space in the engine to get in there and move around and take stuff off, and like older cars. And I'm not even a mechanic, but I remember replacing some parts on older vehicles. It didn't seem that hard. And now, dude, you have to take your car to a specialist, because working in the space that they leave you is ridiculous. And I just did the same thing. I dropped one single a bolt for a screw, and it fell just in some place. I couldn't even pull this thing out with a freaking magnet, so I said screw it. And I found a way to dig a zip tie in there and just freaking seal that one part. But I didn't think it mattered anyways, because it was just one part. It was holding pretty tight. But yeah, I hate that. I could have used that. Damn, that one probably worked better than the piece of crap one that I was trying to use.
It works. All
When
right.
we used to work on multi-million-dollar transformers back in the Arctic, back in the day, we would call it the moment of truth. You'd pull the plate off the top of the transformer, and you cannot drop anything in there, because especially metallic, like a nail, screw, a wrench, whatever, anything goes in there, it's a huge disaster, because it will fault and cause irreversible damage, like horrific. And this is like millions of dollars and years to replace something like this. So I'm telling you, man, I basically work for NASA. Like you're taking this thing off. It's like, okay, everything's tied off. Everything was on a rope.
Tethered. Yeah.
Even a nut was on a little like string, so that if you drop it, you could get it back. And just at the very last moment, like you would put on. Oh man, I'm telling you, all those games of Operation when I was a kid, it paid off, because we always had these moments of truth. So shout out to the mechanics out there.
That's working on that crap outside in the frigid temperatures too, man. That even raises the stakes even more. That's crazy, man. You've had a crazy job, dude. I don't know. Not too many people could do that. Alex Pauls is obviously very cool under pressure.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, minus 90 Fahrenheit at 3:30 in the morning, and just wearing everything I've ever owned and wishing for death, and just talking to my grandchildren in my head like, I'm only doing this so that I can tell you that I did this crazy shit, and to tell it on the Firmamental podcast too. But it's
Did you say negative 90?
negative 90. That's the coldest I've worked in.
What? I didn't even think that was even possible. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
With the wind. So that's like minus 68 Celsius. It was minus 54 Celsius without the wind chill, and with the wind chill it was minus 68. So I didn't quite hit minus 70 Celsius.
How do your eyeballs not freeze? I'm sorry, Cody.
Yeah.
How do your eyeballs not freeze though? They're wet.
Do. Yeah. I would have to like blink. I would have to keep squinting. I should have had like ski goggles.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about it now, I'm like, damn, I should have had ski goggles, because that's what those guys do, right? It's because I could feel the moisture in my eyes. It was hurting like quite a bit. Like if I didn't blink, it felt like my eyes were going to explode.
Could you
Ouch. Yeah, because when it freezes, it expands.
What's that, Cody?
pour something and it freeze in the air?
Yeah, taking a pee off the transformer. And it's like, oh.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it'll freeze. It'll freeze instantly. Yeah, you take one of those cups of water and you toss it, dude. Like the tires were square. It's like dook, 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 dook. Like everything's like freezing. When they talk about the shit on the moon, it's like there's no way. Like there's no way.
What was it supposed to be on the negative like 250 or something?
Yeah, negative 250 on the moon. Like
Yeah.
what's gonna work in minus 250?
Why? Right. Wow.
And they're just jumping around, having fun, playing golf. Like, no big deal.
Yeah, it's all
And
good.
just using my space diaper. Dude, if I was you up in that kind of temperature, I would not pull out my man tool.
Yeah.
No,
I would
you
want
don't.
one of those. I would want one of those cool space diapers. Did you have to wear a diaper at work?
No, it's funny because all your external organs, they go into your body. So I was basically like turtling as hard as humanly possible. I couldn't even, if I needed to pee, I wouldn't even be able to find it if I was outside. Totally gone. Totally gone.
Oh man, the twists and turns of the Firmamental Podcast, folks, and for those over there on Seven Club's channel, man. For those of you that know us, this is just a regular in-house.
Well, we're real
hilarity.
people, though. That's the thing,
Yeah, yeah.
man. That's how you know we're real people. We're not shills.
We got so many big laugh faces in the TikTok chat. They're digging it. That's why I love this, man.
Oh man.
At least somebody finds me funny. My wife doesn't. She has PMS.
Ooh, I didn't listen to the PMS episode yet, but I saw it got sent out. Was that today?
Yeah, it just went out today, the PMS episode. Seven Club, you got to listen to my wife and I's podcast too, the Pair Genius podcast, because we do all sorts of crazy relationship stuff. So,
all right, yeah, send it.
I just survived the PMS episode. It was pretty funny though.
Was your wife actually PMSing during the episode?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, that's a must listen to episode then, and you guys can tell.
Today.
Well, I'm sure you're over there pushing buttons. Alex knows how to push buttons.
That's
I'm not
legit.
innocent.
Oh, I'm behind on pushing my buttons.
Nice.
I on our YouTube, on the YouTube channel, if they comment, I'll throw their comment up on the screen. Like
Nice.
And I'm way behind on.
I did go to get some water, but I wanted to ask you guys if you've been noticing anything about giant drones, or if you looked at some of the patents for the giant drones. Were you guys talking about that at all?
We were talking about drones and what we think that they could possibly be.
Because there's different patents for different attachments for the drones, and it's so interesting, right? Like I've been talking about drones for a long time. I feel like I was ahead of the curve with drones, especially military wise, like the things that you can do. But once you start getting a large drone, the tasks that they can do are phenomenal. Like you want to do roof inspection, you want to clean solar panels, you can do all sorts of amazing things, good or bad. It's like, to me, drones are a Pandora's box. So one of the things that I did see recently was giant drones, and thinking about what those uses could be. Thoughts on that?
I have seen one. For those of you, I've mentioned it on the show before, but I used to live right near the Air Force Base in Albuquerque, right next to it. Like literally, when I would walk my dogs, sometimes I would walk right by one of the entry gates to the Air Force Base. And I have seen those massive drones fly over my house before, like, and it was something that they were doing at the military. And being that I live so close to it, I've seen the dude. It was like you couldn't hear it till it was right up on you, but when it whooshed over you, man, the sound that it made was amazingly tremendous. It was like a very loud zip sound, but it was like it looked like it could maybe fit like a person or maybe even two in it, and it had like a long capsule like that, and then it had the 4 propeller cylinders. And it was kind of like, it flew not at a perfectly parallel angle. It was kind of like tilted.
Yeah.
And that was wild, bro. It was wild.
That would be a baller thing. That would be a baller thing, like Kobe Bryant taking his drone to a basketball game kind of thing. That'd be cool.
Well, supposedly they're going to have air taxis now in Dubai. Have you seen that?
No.
Is it with drones?
Yeah, I believe so. Let me look it up. Go ahead,
cool.
Cody. What do you think giant drones could be?
Well, I've seen the almost like skateboarder drones or whatever, the ones that the guys stand on and they control it. And
like Green Goblin style, or more like skateboard style? Green Goblin
like
style?
Green
Okay.
Goblin. Yeah, they stand on
That's
it. It's
cool.
got the 4 propellers and it lifts them up off the ground and they ride it like Green Goblin up through there.
Yeah.
I've seen those.
That'd be wild, man.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I mean, I'd be kind of freaked out and scared to like get good at it because it's like, all right, I'm gonna
you only
get
crash
good at
once,
this,
right?
I try it. Yeah,
Yeah, you only crash once. It's over.
So, I just looked up something. This is the first thing that popped up, but they're supposedly called Volocopters, is an autonomous air taxi in Dubai. And I guess they passed something, and they're working with German engineers, but a vision becomes reality. Dubai's Government Roads and Transport Authority, RTA, has signed an agreement with German company Volocopter regarding the regular test mode of autonomous air taxis in the Emirates. So
that reminds me of The Fifth Element.
Yeah, it does.
This is what these things look like. I don't know if you guys.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah.
Wow.
That
You guys
sounds like
hadn't heard of that?
a huge liability. That sounds just...
Dude. Oh, well, any conspiracy theorist not getting on those things, because if it's anything automated and they want to off you, man, they just program the thing to crash, right? That's why none of us want to drive electric vehicles too.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't trust half the people driving on the roads, never mind flying in the sky.
Right.
That's some real Jetson stuff right there.
That's pretty cool, though. I like bullet trains. I think there's so many cool things that people have done. Monorail. Like, you go to Disney World, you do the monorail. If you go to, like, I was in Germany, and I took the bullet train to France. That was about 330 kilometers an hour, maybe, what is that, 250 miles an hour?
Wow.
Bullet train. Like, and you don't even feel it. Like, you're just cruising along, just no big deal, 250 miles an hour. And I'm like, there's been times where I'm just so amazed by what people can create. And, but it's always a double-edged sword, right? And even when I've created my own inventions, somebody's like, oh, well, what about this? And they'll always pick the evil use for it. Well, I didn't think about that. I thought about, the good thing, like Facebook. Like when they made Facebook, seemed like it was kind of a cool thing to connect us. And then the CIA takes over, and now it controls our lives. It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
People, man, we screwed up.
I wanted to ask your listeners, Cody, like, and I want to talk to you guys about this, but what about just like all of our devices listening to us, all the time? And then you go on your phone to look for something and you're like, wait, I didn't search this, but I was talking about this, and then you're getting fed like news feeds or advertisements for such product, and you didn't even Google it yourself. It's like your phone was listening to you. Have you guys experienced that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Especially advertisements. It's wild. I was just thinking, oh, sorry, Cody.
I was just going to say, it's so normal now, but
but it's not a joke. It's such this is what Edward Snowden was warning us about. And we joke about this shit. Like, no, Google, get the F out of my pocket.
Yeah.
Like I didn't, but that's the thing. We don't read the terms and conditions, right? We just hit OK because I'm not a lawyer and I'm not reading 30 pages. For all I know, I'm just hitting OK and they're going to come take my kids. Because that's how.
Or they're looking at all the hidden photographs in your phone or.
Yeah, exactly. Well, think about this, you guys. It's so that we have Alexa, we have the phones, we have these cameras. I can't believe how many people have interior security cameras in their own homes. Have you guys have seen this, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So what's to stop anybody from hacking that and watching you go about your day? That just seems totally like not there. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, 1984. I'm cool with having those, and even having them on the outside. You could be barbecuing and just having a conversation that nobody needs to hear, and somebody tapping in. Because I know those Ring cameras. Yeah, those Ring cameras too will record voice as well as audio
Mhm.
footage. So yeah, it's wild. We are seriously under a constant state of surveillance, and that's why it's much scarier for our children than it was for us. Like there was some of this CCTV stuff going on when we were kids, but it was very minimal. I mean, there's cameras everywhere, especially if you live in a metropolis. Like they're everywhere. It's scary. You can't do anything because you're going to end up on camera somewhere.
Yeah.
I feel like England's kind of the testing ground for that. Like, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention
China, right?
to the social media, people posting on social media and then getting arrested, like charged.
Mm.
What?
Yeah, like Facebook stuff. Like they'll show a dude that posts something against like immigration. He just gets 2 years, and then somebody that just committed murder gets like a less sentence than the dude that posted on Facebook. It's wild what's going on. I feel like they're like WF testing grounds.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't like that because our umbilical cord is kind of attached to those dudes.
Yeah. The craziest thing you guys were talking about the cameras and stuff. The weirdest thing I heard about that and surveillance is that our Wi-Fi routers put off, the waves and whatever, and
The EMF,
without
yeah.
even cameras, they can sonar your entire house and check the outline of your bodies and everything in your house. They can see it without needing cameras. It's just kind of
That's
like the predator vision,
Mm.
Yeah, that's wild.
Kind of thing.
Like echolocation,
Mhm.
like a bat.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not hear that one, man.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's if you really want to start thinking about this stuff, it truly is terrifying. Like you would literally have to completely go off grid and ditch all your every single one of your devices and try to like stay far away from the 5G networks and stuff. But I mean, that's why I think people always make fun of the Amish, man, but these people had it right the whole time. Like these people that we made fun of, they had it right. Live a simple life, grow your own food, eat your own farm raised meat, stay close knit families, have very simple structure, feet on the ground, grounding constantly, drinking raw milk. Like we make fun of these people, man. They got it right. We're the weirdos.
And they're pacifists. They don't believe in war. They don't mess with nobody, and nobody messes with them. That's how much better can you get?
Man, they do.
That's a good formula. Yeah. We got to send them to Antarctica so they can start farming it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be the ones to set it up right.
And it is.
Guys would be wicked.
Painful to think about how technology has us so trapped, man. Like I'm thinking of what you're saying, and it's like, man, if we all did just say, but we're so trapped in it. We're so dependent on it that it's like, as good as that sounds, to just go organic, it's like impossible now.
You know what's crazy, guys, is and S7 Club, you reminded me about this. I was watching a little documentary on Disney World or Disneyland and the way they used to build these projects, they're different, Space Mountain or whatever. And it would take them about 2 years. They would have a team and it would take, 2 years. This was back in the 60s, 70s. These people were like dedicated workers. Way less technology, but technology nonetheless. It's not like they're cave people. But they were saying nowadays it takes about 5 years to complete that same. They look back and they don't even know how those people did what they did back in the 60s or 70s. And you know what you reminded me of is they didn't have as much technology distracting them. They went to work and they worked. They didn't go take a 20-minute dump with their phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they went to work and they did their thing. Like that's the real mind bender right there. It's the phone really distracts us from 90% of the things that we probably could do in a day.
And I think they probably didn't have all these woke policies and procedures. And this is like pre OSHA, and they weren't sitting around waiting to get safety's approval to do
Right?
some work, and they're waiting hours, because that's how it was when I worked at Intel. You would sit around for hours waiting for safety's approval to work on a line or work on something, because there's all these crazy chemicals in the plant. But you're literally just sitting around for hours waiting to do 30 minutes worth of work when you could have just done the 30 minutes worth of work. Like, so, yeah. But this conversation will kind of reminds me of like the Tartarian Empire, this old world order stuff. Like, how are they building and erecting these cities and then tearing them down? Like, and why would you build such a marvel and then tear it down? Like, none of that makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, go on this, what is it, Disney Plus it's called? So they did something about the World's Fair. That's what it's called, right? The World's Fair.
Yep.
1964, 1965. Walt Disney was actually in charge of the World's Fair that year. So he did a thing with Ford. He did a thing with Pepsi. And so they did a little documentary on this. I thought it was fascinating. And he kind of had double-edged sword with it. He made like It's a Small World for the World's Fair, and then he brought it back to Disney World. So it was for promotion and for doing all these things. But I found it fascinating that they had this huge acreage for the World's Fair, and sure enough, they're just like, and when it was over, just jackhammered it and destroyed the whole thing in 1965. But it got me thinking, like, when was the last World's Fair? Maybe that was it. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Seven.
I'm not sure. That stuff always fascinates me too. That was the biggest mystery, because I'm like, look at this beautiful, I mean, reusable architecture, and they're tearing it down.
Right?
And it's like they were hiding the things they had. It's kind of like the sky blimps, the zeppelins, the sky cities that would float around and tether to the top of buildings and carry full cities worth of people, 1,100 people capacity, right? Steel framed, steel. I mean, these things are made out of heavy materials, and they're saying that helium carried these things around with a city's worth of people inside, and yet they floated around, and they were so luxurious and roomy on the inside. I used to think that those airships were like balloon blimps full of helium, and then that little space in the bottom was the only occupiable space. I didn't know that like half of the inside of that thing was decked out with restaurants and rooms to live in and all kinds
So
of
actually
stuff.
inside the...
See, I didn't know that either. I thought it was just a little container at the bottom.
Yeah, I did too, until more recently. And it's made of metal. Like the ship's made of, it's like wood framed and stuff, but metal outside, Zeppelin, and full on like cruise ships on the inside. I'm like,
Dude, those are like Sky Noah's Arks.
yeah, pretty much.
Wow, that's wild, dude.
So did they have huge compartments filled with, I guess, hydrogen or helium?
That's what they say. They said they had pockets inside.
Oh, okay.
But
So it didn't have to be the whole thing filled with it.
well, that's what I asked ChatGPT about the average weight and what it would take hydrogen or helium to lift that amount of weight. And the calculations, after ChatGPT did all the calculations, it said actually that was that there wasn't enough room for hydrogen to lift that capacity with the people on the inside.
Electrostatics or...
Well, look at this. Like, you guys have heard like a bee, how bees make a hive, right? And they actually utilize all that space in a condensed form. But actually, if you go inside of it, like, it has a massive amount of volume of potential because of the way that the shapes are put together. And I say, and they say, I don't know too much about this because I'm not a scientist, but they say the frequency of the sound and stuff that bees make when they buzz also create like these sound harmonics that create this sacred geometrical patterns that, I don't know, maybe the shape of these zeppelins, because if you look at it, they have like segments. I'm not saying they look like these horizontal shapes like a honeycomb, not horizontal, but octagonal shapes like a honeycomb. But maybe they were utilizing a space by the way it was constructed, using that same kind of, technology, like how there's more space inside of a honeycomb.
Yeah, could be. They did something that is, I think, against the narrative they tell us, because the narrative they tell us just doesn't make sense. So they were using something that that they don't use today, or at least not with our knowledge. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's
It would make sense that there's no roads back in the old days if they didn't need roads.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just fly from place to place, I mean, think about how easy the infrastructure would be then. Like, we've complicated things,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which makes sense. We're kind of going backwards.
Mhm.
Well, if they could do some like Star Trek stuff, beam me up, Scotty, and they just dematerialize you and rematerialize you in one location to another, would you be down to try that? Because I don't think I'd be down for that one.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I teleport in a heartbeat. Come on, guys.
No.
Dude, I'd be too worried to like
I mean, I saw the
lose
Fly,
myself
but-
in some like out of body experience. I listened to something terrifying about out of body experiences, and I no longer have a desire to ever use hallucinogenics again or anything, man. I've heard some terrifying stuff about out of body experiences now, and what can contact you during these events. I'm good with my mind, body, and spirit and soul all being intact in one place at one time. I'm not ready to sever this silver cord until I actually meet my maker. I'm done playing with that
No
game.
fun.
Sorry, New Agers.
No.
My fun days
don't.
are over.
Says the guy with the Costco bag of magic mushrooms at the bar. Come on, man.
Dude, that was the old me, though.
I
That
know,
was
but you
old
set the
me.
bar and now nobody else can have fun? Come on, dude. Don't you judge. He's had all the fun and he just wants you all to suffer.
Mm.
They sell mushrooms at Costco now.
Yeah. Kirkland brand, right?
Hey, don't be surprised, man. Like, we never thought when we were kids, like these dispensaries. Imagine if they would have told you about dispensaries, Alex, when you were 20 years old. You'd would have laughed at people. And now look.
Oh, man. See, and when the cop came in grade 6 to tell us about drugs, I was terrified of drugs. Like cocaine, the way they cut it with different things. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing cocaine. But look how it's come full circle. Like, you can almost trust nothing because of fentanyl. Fentanyl is getting
Yeah.
laced in even marijuana. And I tell my kids all about this kind of stuff. It's sketch out there right now. Like, and you guys, wow, Raul, you know about fentanyl, like how, I mean, boom, you could be normal and now you're dead. You've overdosed. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's
Yeah.
scary,
Well-
man. If I was a kid, I wouldn't touch drugs.
Well, Seven Club, you used to work with addicts in recovery, and you yourself was a reformed addict, right? So, like, and isn't it crazy that the drugs that we considered to be the hardest drugs of our days are now kind of look like child's play to some of these synthetic drugs that have come out now, right?
Yeah, it's crazy, and it is scary, man. I mean, this stuff hits close to home. You really understand how big of a problem this fentanyl and stuff is when you personally know people who have died, just from weed. We had cases right here in town that a kid smoked some fentanyl laced weed. A kid ate, and here's the big one, ate a fentanyl Xanax, but it was pure fentanyl that was pressed into an actual brand name Xanax pill. Now tell me,
Crazy.
who got a hold of an actual Xanax pill press machine? Who has access to that? Only one place I know
Evil.
is the hospitals. I mean, Xanax themselves are the only people I know with an actual pill press machine that'll put the actual logo on it.
Well,
Unless someone made it, but I mean,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. With a 3D printer, though, you could pretty much, right?
But like, I mean, how though? I mean, I'm wondering how they got that pill to look. I mean, it looked exactly, they were showing them on Facebook. They're like, these are, oh, TikTok's hitting me, but
Oh,
they
jeez.
look-
You done, son.
oh, I think I am actually done from TikTok right now. Hold on. Oh no, wait. Okay, yeah, they just blocked us from the FYP, but we should be good. But yeah, I mean, either these people got so creative, or black market, like somebody got their hands on an actual pill press machine, like factory made, and sold it to. I don't know, but that's the scary
Explain.
thing.
I want you guys to explain fentanyl to me because I just don't understand it. Why would you? It's not meant to kill people, but it is killing people. Or do they just not give it? Like, if I was a drug dealer, I don't want my clients to die. I want them to use this shit. I don't want to sell them. I don't want to sell a 10-year-old kid, 12-year-old kid weed, and he's dead. And next thing you know, there's a nationwide hunt for me because I'm now a murderer for selling this lace shit. Like, Explain this.
You want return
reason.
customers. Where's the
Yeah.
return on your investment? Like,
Yeah, is this just
dude, I
assassinating
remember
people?
even in the game, like, you hear the streets and anybody that was involved, like it's like you give a free sample, so you create the customer and you want your customer to keep coming back, right? And
Yeah, like Costco.
if you kill them with a free sample, you're not gaining continual customership, right?
Right, that's
So
not a
yeah,
good
that
business
doesn't make
model.
sense. I don't know what it is with the fentanyl thing, dude. I honestly think that it's an attack from the enemy orchestrated by nefarious groups behind the scenes, pumping this stuff and allowing this stuff to come in because they are targeting certain demographics, and there's certain areas of our population that they consider undesirable that they would just decimate. Okay, that's the only thing that I could think of about it, but it is insane. And working in recovery recently and potentially again in the future, I've seen the effects of this stuff, and I have never seen something that has the gripping power of this drug. I mean, it literally makes crack and traditional heroin look like nothing. Like the success rates of people successfully getting off of this stuff and remaining off of this stuff is, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but the the amount of people who have victories over this once you start using it, it's scary stuff. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. And I was going to mention something else, man. I've heard that there's this new thing that they're doing, and it's called methanol. And they're liking to mix meth and fentanyl because fentanyl will make you slouch out, make you basically fall asleep. And you see them all. I don't know if you
Oh,
got
that's
that
what that is?
where they got the slouch and they're slouched over. It's because they're so freaking high, they're just out of it. They're just slumped over and basically asleep, but they're high as heck. Who knows what's going on? I've never done the shit, never will. But now what they're doing is I don't know, and I don't know how they're doing it, but they're mixing meth with fentanyl, so they get the effects of the fentanyl, but they get to stay awake and enjoy it because the meth is rushing them out. I'm like, dude, that is crazy.
Can't we just go for a beer?
Yeah, dude. Like, folks, please pump the brakes on that. And anybody out there suffering from addiction, man, go find help. And there are places out there with people who really care, people who have experienced and triumphed over it. And I implore you guys to seek help because it's not worth your life, man. And you have loved ones, you got family. There's somebody out there that loves you. And if you can't think of somebody who loves you, your heavenly Father loves you. And I've seen people come out of that stuff, and I have seen some victories, and it's the most amazing thing when somebody can pull themselves from that world and conquer it, because those are the most powerful testimonies for other people struggling with it. So go get the help, guys. There's nothing wrong with seeking help, but to defeat that problem, you got to admit you have a problem first. So please, guys, go get help.
Somebody in the chat said the fentanyl is a guaranteed, or they said ensures physical dependence. So I've heard of cases where like heroin's mostly known for when you do it and you've done it a while and you stop, you're dead sick. Like I've been a heroin addict in the past. You're so sick. And I've heard that fentanyl kind of came around after I had already, gotten in recovery and stuff. But there's people who use it their very first time, and then when it fades off, they're already physically sick and dependent on it, on fentanyl.
Wow.
So that sounds genetically, synthetically engineered, in my opinion, to do that in a lot of cases. Now we're gone for good.
Dude, man. But for real, you are telling no lie, because at the most recent facility that I was working at, we have groups and we sit in groups with the clients, and I heard stories of just that. Bro, I literally tried it one time and I was hooked. Like, we've heard of that before with other drugs, but like, no, this is on another level. I've heard that from more than a handful of people in recovery when I was working there.
Yeah. It's sad, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm lucky to be ignorant to this kind of stuff, and where I live, and I'm always surprised when the girls, like one of my daughters in high school, and she tells me how much drugs there are at her school. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? We live like in the nicest place in Canada. Like, what do you mean drugs? And there's, man, kids, especially kids with money, they'll find a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's so crazy, man. It's so crazy. Parents are not, pretty much rich, upper middle class people, and working their asses off and got all this money, and these kids are still doing drugs. Like, what the heck's going on here? What are people chasing? What is their reality? What do they want? Do they want their parents' attention? Like, why are they doing these things? I know we're going on a tangent, but
No, but well, look at it, dude. Look at the way that the music that they listen to glorifies these lifestyles. Like, I have kids that are, late teenagers, early 20s, and you look at some of these people that they idolize, and some of them are like these more new school rappers. Some of them which were actually still really talented. They're not like Jay-Z and P. Diddy and these ones that completely suck. But like you got Juice World. That dude was like one of the greatest freestylers I've ever heard. For those of you who don't know, Juice World is the
oh,
guy
I got his
died.
skin in Fortnite.
Yeah, the guy the guy died though of some synthetic drug overdose, right?
I didn't know that.
You got
Thanks for the
Little
spoiler.
Peep, same thing, Little Peep. All these guys they die these deaths, but I think in some way too, they're like glorified as like these characters. And then the kids say, well, so and so did it, and they rap about it. Like, I don't know, it's kind of like normalizing it. It's like they do with these movies. There's a Jack Black Christmas movie where a kid means to write to Santa and he writes to Satan, right? And Satan starts visiting. I haven't watched the movie, I'm not interested in paying to see the movie, but I'm interested to see it because I want to see the kind of crap that they're selling our kids. The movie Wicked, they're like normalizing becoming friends with witches and soothsayers. Like, it's just what they do. And I think the kids don't realize the subliminal programming, and then they're out from underneath their parents' wings and they're like, yeah, we're told all this, but still it becomes this forbidden fruit. And then when they're in this rebellious spirit, it's something that they're tempted to try because of social peer influence, and also the subliminal programming that they're not detecting because they don't have that level of discernment yet. I think that's why it's really important that we talk to our children on that level and try to, like, how do you work on building kids' discernment? Like, it's up to us to teach them those skills because the public school system's not doing it for them.
Lead by example, right? If you want your kids to be clean, you got to be clean, right? Well, my dad did the opposite, but
yeah, and that's a thing. I've met people whose parents were alcoholics, addicts, and they followed right in their footsteps. But then I've also met people who their parents was alcoholics, drug addicts, and they went the opposite way and became just so, I mean, a beacon of hope, just a cycle breaker is what I call it,
that's me. I'm the cycle breaker.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. I mean, when I'm telling you these stories about me living up north, but I didn't tell you the story of how I got into the habit of having a beer every time I came home. And then next thing you know, you're having 2 beers. And then next thing you know, you're having a beer every single day. And you don't know why you're even having a beer every single day. And it just sneaks out. I remember getting really mad at myself, how it snuck up on me. I had no idea. I had no idea that I was developing maybe not an addiction, but of a habit that was leading to. And yeah, so I don't judge anyone. Like, even somebody who's as aware of not ever wanting to be an alcoholic to almost like fall into the trap. Into the trap. It's easy to fall into these traps. They make it easy.
Yeah.
Especially
habituation. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, especially for alcohol, because it's everywhere. I mean, it's at every convenience store. The alcoholics drug dealer is everywhere they go. They can't escape them.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just habituation too. I think it's another thing that we're ingrained. Like, I know I had this mentality, and it takes like a good woman sometimes to come into your life and show you some of the. It could be anybody; it doesn't have to be a good woman or whatever. But sometimes that's how it happened for me. Is like, point out these things. Like, yeah, I know I've had this problem in the past, but I've got it under control now. It's like, do you really? And point out this habituation that you're developing, and it's like we as men, and it could be a woman too, but we work our asses off. It's designed to for us. And now with inflation, it's like we have to work our asses off just to be able to put groceries and keep everything running, and put gas in our vehicles. It's to the point of ridiculous now. But I mean, we say, like, dude, we're killing ourselves at work and we got to do this. Like, I deserve this. I deserve this glass of wine. I deserve this beer. I deserve this highball glass of whiskey, whatever it is. And then it just becomes like, it just becomes part of your nightly routine. And like you said, Alex, before you know it, you're not just having one, you're having 2, you're having 3, and you've overdone it. It does. It's a creeper. Alcohol is very much a creeper, and it is the gateway to a lot more problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate alcohol. My brother died just making a silly decision on while being on alcohol. It's just, that's the worst one. And I tell everybody, I'm like, man, I feel the most compassion for you alcoholics. You can't escape it. It's everywhere, and you can die in so many ways from it. Like, that's the wild thing. One guy, he came to treatment and he said, "Yeah," he goes, I got drunk once again. He goes, "I woke up and sat up on my bed. I took out a cigarette on my pack, put it in my mouth, went to light it, realized I smell something. So I put my cigarette down, went downstairs, realized that I was in a drunken stupor. I left the stovetops on, and uh the light went out. His whole house filled with gas.
Oh my
He
God.
was about to blow his whole house up. Like, it was
Ooh.
strong smell. Like, he woke up and he was in a daze, but luckily he noticed the smell. He could have died from inhalation probably too, but
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure. That's a dumb way to die. People trip and fall in the street, on busy streets, being drunk and get run over. Car accidents are at an all-time high of, alcoholic accidents like that. And there's just alcohol poisoning. It's alcohol and benzodiazepam are the only two substances that you can die from withdrawal. So you can die from not drinking. I mean,
Crazy.
it's so dangerous, man. And it'll get you gripped like none other. I mean, an
Yeah.
alcoholic, it's hard to quit. It's as hard or harder than cigarettes, and cigarettes are almost impossible to quit.
That's why I'm
Yes.
switching to weed.
See, these and you're right, man. These opiate addicts, they get physically sick, but working in recovery, that they only feel like they're dying. And I forgot what they call it, like kicking. Oh man, I'm kicking so bad, and they're the worst complainers that you've ever been around in your life. But the alcoholics, when they come into recovery, they have to be very closely monitored, because if they develop a physical dependency, you have to have them on anti-seizure medication and all this stuff. And you're right. The other thing that we couldn't take were people that were taking benzodiazepines, or I forgot the AKA for those drugs, but those are another drugs that detoxing. Like, if you have a physical dependence and you stop using them cold turkey, you will die. Like a alcoholic with a physical dependency, you stop using cold turkey, you will die. You have to be medicated and you have to be tapered down, but they have to do it to you medically. So it's wild, bro. Wild.
Have you guys seen Tropic Thunder?
Yeah.
Yes, with Robert Downey as a black guy.
Yeah, Jack Black. He's the bat takes his jelly beans or whatever, and it's so, he's going through withdrawal in the jungle. It's so funny. Like, they tie him up to the tree, and you guys remember they tie him up to the tree, and he's going through hell, and you feel bad, and you're laughing, and you feel bad, and he just does such a good job of, like, this torture thing. It's not whatever, man. It's not a funny thing, but it's a funny thing, like, to watch this guy, and it's so crazy. It's it's worth watching again for Christmas with your family.
It came out of nowhere, didn't it? That movie and that sense of humor. There's no movie like it. It is so different humor-wise, and it really came out of nowhere. It is a funny one, for sure.
That's definitely my sense of humor. It's crazy.
It's like
man.
slapstick kind of.
Yeah, there's some good. Dude, I still have to consume my share of bread and circus and have to pop out of the rabbit hole. And I still do consume some of what the world, but I watch it through a lens, right? Like, we're probably the most annoying people to watch movies with, because we're constantly pausing them to point things out to the people we're watching them with.
I miss everything. I'm still a normie, I think. At heart, I want to be a normie. So when I sit down to watch a movie, I kind of don't look for anything. Sometimes I'll catch something if it's like super obvious. But for the most part, I was watching The Godfather the other day on Netflix, and oh man, it's so good. I forgot how good it is. But now somebody's going to come out and ruin it for me and be he's throwing up devil signals. You're not supposed to have a horse head in the bed. That's wrong.
You're preaching to the choir when it comes to that, because, like, I'm telling you, man, this last little thing that happened when that dude sent me that video and it all came full circle, I really felt like God was there, man. I felt like God was trying to teach me a valuable lesson that I needed, because I'm telling you, these rabbit holes are dark. They're depressing. I've watched people lose it, bro. And you guys have too. Like, in a way where it's heartbreaking.
Well, we've been in dark places too, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not exempt.
Yeah. And I hit a wall, and I was like, you know what? I was like, it was just this week, Sunday, Monday, yesterday, and I'm like, you know, I need to take a step back, like from the way that I'm looking at things.
Mm-hmm.
I need to put God at my number one focus, put the good at my number one focus, so it amplifies,
Mm-hmm.
and that is true. The focusing on the good amplifies the good. The focusing on the bad amplifies the bad. You are in the world that you focus on, and a lot of people, they go down those roads, and the next thing you know, you can't even trust your. It reminds me of the meth paranoia. Like, I was a meth addict for a while. The meth paranoia of everybody's against you, like your parents, everybody's against you, and it's like now you're looking at the world that way, and I'm like, so wait a second, I've set all these demons out here, but I haven't like conspiratorized and looked into people and accused them of being an actual good angel. So if all these bad people and demons are here, why wouldn't God have angels stationed around? Why wouldn't people
Yep.
be covert secret agent good people? Angels,
Mhm.
in the grand scheme of it all, and I almost felt guilty by like not looking at it that way, not looking at
Mhm.
what's biblically sound. Like it says right there, it says, make sure you're kind to everyone because people have entertained angels unknowingly. Like God has angels here
Mhm.
communicating with us in real time, like they're just people all the time.
Well, it's like, I think the hardest commandment is love thy neighbor. If you went out into the world and just loved everybody as much as you love yourself, which is probably the hardest thing to do, we would be in a perfect world. But that really is the only thing that you
Mhm.
kind of need to do, period.
Yeah.
And it's the greatest test.
Yeah.
And all the division and all the stuff that we fight about, just tying it back to the beginning, fighting about Jesus' name. Who's better?
Yeah.
Who's a better Christian? Who's a better, like, come on, guys. This isn't the 33rd degree Christianity here.
Mhm.
Like, if you know
Yeah.
the gospel of Paul better than me or Timothy or whatever, you're not on level 17 and I'm on 2. It doesn't work that way. We're all together. We all got to love each other the same. Like, that's, to me, that's my big takeaway. 2024 is just
Yeah.
try and be the best me and love everybody. And it's the hardest thing. And I have to
Yeah.
keep admitting that.
We all play a crucial role in this game called life, and in the body of the church, we all play a crucial role, and one person's status or one person's level of knowledge doesn't make them more accessible to be used by God than somebody who is new to the faith, or just somebody just that doesn't even have the same amount. It's the same thing with the conspiratorial world that we're in. It's like we want to have all these stripes and accolades and like, oh, so and so's such an expert in this, and so and so's like really to me, I'm cool with being myself, cool with being honest and talking about the way I see things. And we don't all have to be on the same page. Like God at any time could choose to use any of us and pluck us right out the blue earth and be like, I decide to use this person today, or I decide to use that person today. It's just being that conduit. And I think we become that conduit by staying connected. And it's not by focusing on the negative, it's by focusing on the positive. Like we're all working towards obtaining knowledge and becoming smarter and being able to recognize the signs and use our discernment more. But no one's more special because they understand prophecy better than me. So I'm such a baby in their eyes. Like, no, we're all have continual work to do. And sometimes the people that know more need to humble themselves because they think they know it all and they really don't. So it really is like finding a fine line. Your quarterback can win you many games, but there's always that role player that can steal a victory too, so that's the way I look at the game of life. And I think that's a good way note to bring it down and wind it down on, because I'm trying to get to the gym before they close tonight. But I did want to say, like, it's kind of sad to think of like a lot of people in this truther game get themselves pigeonholed, and then they start to think like, oh, who can I trust? Who can I trust? And everybody, so to say, is wearing a mask. And in a world where you isolate yourself and you can't trust anybody, it becomes like this paranoia. And it's almost like like self-induced schizophrenia because you create this world where you can't trust anybody. And what kind of life is that to live where you're all on your own and nobody's worthy of trust? Like it to me, that's kind of sad. Like, yeah, trust is something to be gained or earned on some level, but also to never to be able to trust anybody and think everybody's constantly wearing a mask or playing the part of somebody else and everything's a deception and looking at the world as a giant deception. Where does that get you, bro? It just, to me, it doesn't get us anywhere, man. And yeah, guys, final thoughts.
And God made sure that those who believe that they're wise in their own eyes is truly the fool in the world. You know, us just being like, bro, I don't know nothing. Like, it's probably the safest thing to do for real. Like, just,
Mhm.
I don't know a thing. You know, I see some stuff and here's what it is, and here's what I think, and here's what's that. But man, we're blank slates. You know, I feel like I spin my wheels sometimes trying to figure out things that maybe aren't even meant to be figured out in the first place. I just need to make myself, available for the Lord to use me when He feels necessary. You know, it's like that availability. It's
Yeah.
kind of fights that too. The world trying to steal your availability, trying to keep you too busy, too obsessed.
Yep. I had a manager one time tell me the best ability is availability.
That's it.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
So true. So true.
Alex, final thoughts.
I know we're getting near the new year, so I'm gonna say my New Year's resolution is 2024 is almost done. I would say in the last month, I've really focused on trying to become a better man and humble myself. And I love you guys, and I want to thank you for reminding me again that I have to do a better job of loving myself and then going out into the world and loving everyone like I love myself. And that is the true, that's the only teaching I need to know. Like, if I can master that, I've mastered everything and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go wherever it is afterwards. And if it's heaven and it's driving a Porsche 911 with you guys and laughing about all the things that we got wrong on the test, I'm okay with that. But it's man, I feel really smart right now. And I want to thank you guys for a really fun discussion tonight. I think I accessed some pretty cool parts of myself. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. Like, it's 100% true. And it's the hardest thing to do, man. It's the hardest thing in the world. Just go out and love. Pray for people. Pray for people that hurt you and all that. I got stuff going on right now in my life where I got some things going on with some people I've been real close to for 6 years, and it just all went here lately. And we all are upset with each other and stuff, and we're all hurt. We all have our own story in that situation where, I'm the victim in my position, but every single one of us in this position is the victim and has been hurt by each other. And it looks like there's no resolve. But hey, may have found it here tonight. I may have more hope, of just putting my pride aside, saying, look, all right, I know I'm gonna try to not be the victim today and see your guys' side of things. Because I've been arrogant with the situation. I've been kind of just worried about how I have felt over the last couple years. And maybe I'm wrong,
Wow.
Maybe I am.
Well, that's big, man. It's hard to admit when we're wrong, and that'd probably be kind of a New Year's resolution that I need to work on because I'm still constantly realizing that being self-aware is a big thing. Like, I think I've neglected self-awareness a large, vast majority of my life, and being aware of each thing I say and each thing I do and how it does affect those around me. Sometimes I think it's just, yeah, hey, it's nothing, and I just fire things out my mouth that can hurt somebody close to me. And I got to realize, like, sometimes those things carry a lot more sting than you think. Like, right? Like God's word said, a spark can light the whole forest on fire, so we got to watch how we use these tools that we have, especially these ones in our mouth. So maybe that's something that I need to work on is the things that fire out of my tongue, because I could be a sharpshooter sometimes. So always things to work on, man. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you again, dude. Thank you for joining us, because every time you come on, man, there's always some like very cool wisdom that comes through the episode, and some gems to extract. So I hope your listeners on your end enjoyed it, because I know the Firm fam loves them some Seven Club Cody.
Absolutely. The YouTubers are loving it, man. The TikTokers were actually, wait, I still have the comment sections. They were loving it, man. They love you guys. Some of them seen you guys for the first time. So some already know you from the past episodes. But as you guys know, Firmamental is my favorite podcast, man. I always enjoy you guys having me on. It's always a privilege, man. So I appreciate you guys. And and man, we gotta do it again. And
Definitely.
freaking keep it going. You guys encourage me like you don't even know. So keep
You
up
as
the
well,
great
brother.
work.
You as well, brother. You've been a good friend to me, and we enjoy having you on the show. We'll do it again soon. I don't know when this will drop, but we got a few episodes in the tank, and we're going to be taking a break for the rest of the holidays, pretty much, huh, Alex, and then reconvening in January. But we got enough episodes to release to carry us through the month.
This is a fun way to end the year, though. So thanks, Seven Club.
Absolutely. Send me that PMS episode if you would.
Yeah, definitely, man. For all you guys out there listening right now, go check out the Pear Genius. It's a play on words too. It's PEAR Genius Podcast. That's Alex's podcast that he started on the side with his wife. It's very entertaining. You think Alex is funny in here? Go listen to the crap he talks with his wife. But they also have a lot of wisdom and good stuff for, especially if you're somebody that's in a relationship. There's a lot of wisdom gems to be extracted from their podcast. So go support them, support us, and support Seven Club Cody, our boy. And we're gonna call this one a wrap, folks. Have a happy New Year. Have a Merry Christmas. And remember, protect your dome. And we'll see you next time.